Self-reflection can be defined as a temporary phenomenological experience in which self becomes an object to oneself. According to theorists like Mead and Vygotsky, self-reflection is a defining feature of humans and fundamental to the higher mental functions. We will explore four reflection theories here. Kolb and Fry, 1975, looked at the constituent parts of reflection and from these created a learning cycle framework. Kolb identified four parts of the learning cycle. To make Kolb's model more understandable, Pedler, Burgoyne, and Boydell, 2001, simplified the terminology. Kolb highlights an important point. Individuals tend to have a preference for carrying out one part of the learning cycle over the others. For example, theorizing in the abstract conceptualization or the so what in Pedler's model. In many cases, this is not problematic so long as a level of skill is maintained in the other areas. John Dewey is thought to be the founder of reflection as it relates to personal learning. Dewey highlighted that reflection in a learning context is not just a passive recall of an event. Reflection is a deliberate and active process. It's about thinking of learning, thinking to learn. In Dewey's words, it is an active, persistent, and careful consideration of any belief or supposed form of knowledge in the light of the grounds that support it and further conclusions to which it leads. That's Dewey, 1933. Dewey believed that reflection could be really useful for making sense of situations or events that we found puzzling or hard to explain. He suggested that reflection for learning should include recalling the event and then posing questions to explore why things turned out that way and what possible actions could have been given a different outcome, which possible actions could have given a different outcome. Since Dewey's initial work, a variety of models have been proposed to capture the components of reflection within learning. Schoen built on Dewey's work and linked reflection more solidly to professional development and professional practice. Schoen claimed that by using reflection, practitioners can make explicit hidden knowledge. This knowledge is the theory that underpins what practitioners do often by instinct. Further, this new understanding can help practitioners improve their practice and become increasingly expert at what they do. Schoen identified two types of reflection on action, which is undertaken retrospectively, and reflection in action, which is essentially thinking on your feet. He does propose that by repeatedly carrying out the process of reflection on action, it can help practitioners to build upon previous experiences and scenarios. This leads to the creation of an extensive repertoire of rehearsed interventions. When new or unexpected situations occur in practice, this repertoire enables the expert practitioner to respond rapidly and instinctively in an appropriate manner. Bowd challenges Schoen and Dewey's assertions, who tend to ignore the effect of emotions when considering reflection. But Bowd and his team of researchers in 1985 asserted that for reflection to be a valid way of learning, the emotions that are associated with events must be taken into account. Hence, fear, panic, hesitation, calm, and elation can enable a person to recall associated events when they're in those states. His team also highlighted that emotions can influence the way in which individuals recall those events. Strong emotions may skew the way the events are interpreted or indeed what part of an event is concentrated upon during reflection. And by ignoring the impact of emotion, learning from reflection may be an incomplete process. Connectivism is a kind of learning theory that was created by George Siemens. It can be understood as a global strategy of educational theory. And Siemens believes that a new theory is required due to the exponential growth of complexity uh, and information available on the internet. So, new possibilities for people to communicate on global networks and the ability to aggregate different information streams requires a new way of looking at learning. Connectivism as a global educational strategy is based on networks consisting of autonomy, diversity, interactivity, and openness. Now, behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructivism are the three major learning theories most relevant in creating effective instructional materials and instructional environments. The significance of connectivism is that its proponents argue that the internet changes the essential nature of knowledge. Knowledge in connectivism is a chaotic, shifting phenomenon as nodes come and go and as information flows across networks that themselves are interconnected with myriad other networks. French philosopher Paul Ricoeur, 1913 and 2005, argued that knowledge can be built on collective memories that can then shape our understanding of life. This global network concept of connections is socially and culturally shared information in an informal learning environment. Siemens stresses developing collaborative skills necessary for optimal use on online resources. Relevant people and places provide the context for envisioning the new information in real-life circumstances with actual consequences and responsibilities. Analyzing collages and reflection for counseling preparation in undergraduate psychology majors. Okay, reviewing articles within art therapy journals and counselor education journals has inspired me to design an art evaluating intervention based on collages posted on my Instagram page. Here we have principles of art and elements of art for analysis that we will be using to look at some collages as well as to design some collages. So further analysis can be accomplished with these aspects, and we're going to concentrate on how these pictures might evoke a certain feeling about past experience or future aspirations. So referential is what we will be looking at as far as the composition, color, texture, line, and space, called formal analysis. So here's an example of some of the collages on the Instagram page that we're going to be looking at. And as you can see, there are rows of, say, 1-inch square. Some of the collages are made of 4 pictures, some of 3, different arrangements. Okay. But we'll be zooming in and looking at some specific ones to get similarities as far as color, tone, shape, repeated motifs, textures, visceral reaction, and the mood of the photos and the relative experience that comes to mind. Written responses will render deeper thought processes and therefore richer thematic analyses. The counseling students will appreciate the value of using artistic expression as a means of thinking carefully about their feelings and past experiences.